Leave the house and don't take anything with you. Fine by me. Just stop making life miserable for Sophia and the others. What on earth are these people talking about? But something inside me snapped at that moment. Alright, I'll leave then. Good riddance. That'll get rid of an annoyance. We can finally live happily just a family. With those snide comments from my sister-in-law Catherine and her husband Robert, I packed my bags and left. Why didn't you tell us? Now, the in-laws have finally caught on. But it's too late. Let them suffer. Serves them right. My name is Anna, a 32-year-old office worker. I married my husband Ken 3 years ago. I met Ken through work. He would often come to my workplace for business, and I was drawn to his hard-working attitude. During a casual night out with co-workers, I ran into Ken at a bar and we ended up drinking together. As the evening went on, we found ourselves sitting next to each other and engaged in various conversations. Turns out, we both attended the same high school. Ken is 2 years older than me. Apparently, he was a senior when I was a freshman, but we never met. Maybe we passed each other in the hallway. That's a funny thought. It's hard to imagine we walked the same high school hallways, meeting only later in life. Back then, I was likely immature, full of that teen energy and noise. Who knows, maybe he saw me in the hallways and found me annoying. Thinking about it, I'm glad we met after we both matured a bit. That night out was the catalyst for Ken and me growing closer. He eventually asked me out to dinner and we started meeting up after work. One date led to another and we became a couple. Ken was kind, mature, and someone I could rely on. Gradually, I found myself falling for him. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and about a year in, Ken popped the question. Anna, you're the one for me. I think it's fate we went to the same high school. Will you marry me? Yes, I'd be honored. And so, we decided to get married. Next, we had family meetings with each other's parents. My parents were quite fond of Ken, which put me at ease. Who would have thought you both went to the same high school? That school has a great culture. I have a co-worker from there who's really dedicated. A trustworthy person, I'd say. My dad can be quite stubborn, so hearing him say that was a relief. Ken had graduated from a prestigious university and worked for a reputable company, so I wasn't too worried, but it was nice to have my parents' approval. Then, we visited Ken's family for another family meeting. That's when things got a little uncomfortable. Ken's parents weren't exactly the warmest people. So, you're Ken's fiancé. You're quite plain, aren't you? We were hoping for a supermodel or at least the daughter of a big company CEO, given where Ken works. Hey, Dad, Mom, that's rude. Just kidding. You always take things so seriously, Ken. Right, don't take it to heart. Just parent humor. Sophia, my mother-in-law, and William, my father-in-law, were clearly mocking me. You didn't go to a famous university and I've never heard of your company. But as long as you focus on housework and have children, it won't be an issue. They made it sound like I was just a housekeeper and a baby-making machine. The family meeting made me instantly uncomfortable around my in-laws. Nevertheless, we wrapped up the meetings and got married. Married life was blissful. We both worked hard at our jobs and shared household chores. Ken was an excellent cook, even better than me, so I always looked forward to his meals. Whenever I made a request, he'd whip up that dish and it would always taste amazing. Even when I'd come home tired from work, eating Ken's cooking would lift my spirits. Of course, when it was my turn, I put my all into cooking. Ken would always compliment my cooking, saying it was delicious. I really like the depth of flavor in Anna's cooking. I guess I tend to overcomplicate things a bit, you know? No way, Ken. Your food tastes like it came straight from a restaurant. I feel like we're having our own personal chef. Really, that means a lot to hear you say that. We were always full of praise for each other. That's why we've been able to have such a harmonious married life. 2 years have flown by since we got married, and we're still as close as ever. But there has been one nagging issue. We haven't been able to have kids. Now, it's only been 2 years, so we're not exactly in a rush, but the pressure from my in-laws has been substantial. When are you going to get pregnant, Anna? Sophia, you asked about this just last week over the phone. These things don't change overnight. What are you talking about? If you keep procrastinating, that's why you won't have children. Are you sure you're even capable? What? Did you hide that from Ken when you married him? Absolutely not. If you're lying, I won't let it slide. Sophia often cornered me like this. Eventually, I underwent fertility testing and reported to my in-laws that I was fully capable of having children. They weren't exactly thrilled, but at least they understood I could have kids. Still, they continued to heap on the pressure. If you're capable of having kids, then hurry up. What a useless daughter-in-law. Being pressured like this only makes it harder to conceive. Every visit to the in-laws' house became an ordeal, and both of them would only criticize me when Ken wasn't around. Sophia would often call to confirm Ken was away before launching into her tirades. Life with Ken was great, but dealing with the in-laws was causing me a lot of stress. I felt uneasy, fearing that I'd have to endure their criticisms indefinitely. However, amidst all this, another issue arose. William, Ken's father, became frail and needed nursing care. And, of course, the in-laws expected us to move in with them. Ken is the eldest son, so it's only natural that he helps out. Since you can't have kids, the least you can do is be useful. They continued to press us like this, and Ken, unaware of the emotional toll his parents were taking on me, broached the subject of us moving together. Mom seems to be struggling a lot. I really want to help out if I can. What do you think? I was really torn. Living together would likely be hard. My in-laws have been giving me a hard time behind Ken's back. If I outright say no, Ken would be shocked. So I decided to lay down some conditions. Okay, I get that Sophia and the family are having a hard time. Can I add some conditions of my own? Sure, go ahead. I'm the one asking for a favor after all. Thanks. First off, I won't be taking care of William. Normally, that should fall on Sophia or their actual son, you, Ken. Also, I want to continue working. If you can agree to these 2 conditions, then we can live together. As I said this, Ken looked at me seriously. He might be disappointed. Maybe he'll say it's a problem if I'm not willing to cooperate with his parents. But Ken looked me in the eye and said, "All right, I accept your conditions. I'll make sure not to put any burden on you." Facing Ken, who looked at me straight on, I decided to trust him. And so we moved into my in-laws' house to begin our life together. They seemed to think they could boss me around as Sophia quickly started issuing orders. "Anna, please take care of William. And also, could you clean the shower and handle all the cooking?" Sophia said this as if it were a given, but I trusted Ken, so I stood my ground. I won't be doing any nursing care for William. That's not my role. I'll help out with household chores as much as I can, but not to the extent that it interferes with my job. So don't pile everything on me. Hearing this, Sophia's eyes widened in anger. What? What are you saying, Anna? If you won't do it, then who will? That would be the job of you, Sophia, or Ken. What are you talking about? There's no way I'll let Ken do it. You should do it. Sophia yelled at me, and during dinner she said, It seems Anna doesn't care about us at all. She doesn't even want to help with William's nursing care. All I asked for was a little help in tough times. Sophia tried to make it seem like I was the one at fault. She probably thought Ken would scold me, but Ken said, Well, those were the conditions for living together. Huh? My in-laws were surprised. Ken continued unfazed. When we agreed to live together, Anna and I made a promise. She won't assist with any nursing care and she will continue to work. What? You can't be serious? The in-laws were speechless. Stunned by how things had unfolded, inside I struck a mental victory pose. I regretted not talking to Ken about the harassment from the in-laws sooner. From that moment on, they couldn't boss me around anymore, and they seemed frustrated. For the most part, I lived peacefully without any unreasonable demands. Of course, I still helped with chores and contributed money to the household through Ken. I thought the in-laws would resent me if I gave the money directly. Then William's health started to decline and he needed to be hospitalized. The doctors said the treatment and hospital fees would be quite expensive. Sophia was really stressed about it. I am on a fixed income now. Why does this have to cost so much? Ken had reduced his work hours to help care for his dad, so our income had decreased too. Seeing Sophia struggle, I decided to help out financially. I told Ken, Give this to Sophia and say it's from you, offering to cover William's monthly medical bills. Ken initially refused, but he really cares for his parents, so I insisted. Don't be shy, we're married after all, I said. Ken replied, Thank you, this really helps. Grateful for my support. We continued our lives together while William underwent treatment. Then one day, an unexpected visitor arrived. Catherine, my sister-in-law. So, Dad's in the hospital? Tough break. But that means there's an empty room here, right? So we can move in, can't we? Catherine had barely set foot in the house before she dropped this bombshell. We'd only met her a few times, like at our wedding and hers and at family events. Since we moved into the in-laws' house, she never visited. So her sudden appearance and proposition caught me off guard. It seems she wants to live here. Honestly, I'd prefer if she and her husband moved in and we moved out. But Sophia declined, saying, Ken's here now, and Dad might come back, so it's not possible. Catherine seemed to have expected this and quickly backed down, saying, Yeah, figures. However, she did make it clear that she was ready to move in any time. From that point on, Catherine started visiting the in-laws' house more frequently. Today, I made dinner inspired by what Mom taught me. What do you think? Catherine had been frequently cozying up to Sophia. It seemed like she was eager to replace us in our joint living arrangement. I had an inkling that something was off about Catherine. Could she be hiding something? Around that time, an unexpected event occurred. Ken got into a car accident on his way home from work and passed away. I rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. I was devastated. To lose my beloved partner so soon. I had wanted to make so many more memories with Ken. The in-laws were also grieving over the sudden news of Ken's death. Even after the funeral, I couldn't come to terms with Ken being gone and felt really down. My boss gave me an extended leave, hoping I would recover soon. But being in the in-laws' house, my heart felt no peace. I had paid for William's medical treatment for this month and planned to stay there until I found a new place. I was also a bit worried about Sophia being alone. We might not like each other very much, but we've both lost someone dear. We're both hurting, I thought. But then, Sophia trampled all over my good intentions. The tipping point came one day when Catherine and her husband visited. Why is Anna still here even though Ken has passed away? Catherine questioned Sophia like that. Sophia chimed in, I was thinking the same thing. We've been busy with the funeral, but we're not obliged to keep Anna an outsider here. Fueled by Sophia's words, Catherine and her husband became even more assertive. Outsiders should leave, and leave your assets too. Exactly. Don't burden Sophia and the rest any longer. What on earth are these people talking about? But something in me snapped then. Fine, I'll leave. They looked surprised when I easily agreed, but then they smirked. Now we can get rid of the troublemaker. We can finally live happily just as a family. Don't worry, Mom. From now on, we'll be the ones living here. As they spoke those words, I packed my bags and left. A month had passed since then. Living in a studio apartment near my workplace, I had been focusing on my career. Then one day, I received a call from an unknown number. Hello? Thinking it might be work-related, I answered. It was Sophia. Anna? Why didn't you tell me? I had no idea you were the one paying for William's medical bills. And the money in the house, it wasn't Ken, but you. It was too late for the people in my in-laws' house to realize the truth. They had it coming. I thought it would make things easier if we said the money came from Ken. Truthfully, Ken was cutting back on work to help with William's nursing care, so I was the one making significantly more money. So that's how it was. I'm sorry for not noticing. Can you help us again? No way. What? Why? I always tried to be minimally supportive as family, even when mistreated by you and others. But you continued to harass me without knowing the truth, even trying to kick me out. I've put an end to my martial ties with the late Ken. We're now complete strangers. Please figure out how to handle William and your daughter's family issues on your own. I said that and hung up. Then I blocked her number. I later learned from a relative still in contact with me that William had tried to force Sophia into a divorce to prioritize his own treatment. He probably thought they could afford it if one less person needed supporting. However, Sophia refused, insisting she would only agree to a divorce if she got a huge settlement. Right now, their family is a mess, embroiled in legal battles. Both are being emotional, but they'll soon realize the lawyer fees will bleed them dry. Eventually, there won't be any assets left to divide. Catherine and her husband, it turns out, had debts, and they were close to being kicked out back then. In-laws have just now realized the fact, but it's too late. They were planning to mooch off my in-laws, but that failed miserably as my in-laws are now on the brink of divorce. Currently, Catherine and her husband are living in a cheap apartment and are asking relatives and friends for loans. However, no one is lending them money because they can expect that they will never get it back. Their debt will continue to grow with interest, making their situation even worse. Knowing my in-laws are spiraling downward like this, I thought, serves you right. I decided to put them behind me and move on. Of course, I'll never forget Ken, who was kind to me. I plan to live my life to the fullest so that someday we'll have a lot to talk about in heaven.